The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast.
Some pretty great news coming out of Phoenix Suns land. I want to have the discussion of the greatest Phoenix Suns player of all time, because I think my opinion isn't going to be what I think a lot of people's opinion is. But it does kind of help that I've been wanting to have that conversation for a couple of weeks now, and it's a perfect segue into it. But first, before we get into it, the Phoenix Suns did something that just makes sense. Just makes sense. It's like, ranch with your pizza. It's like peanut butter to jelly. It's like just, basketball shoes on a basketball court. It just makes sense. Steve Nash is returning to the Phoenix Suns in a senior advisory role. Now, what type of role is that going to play? Like, what does that really look like for someone like Steve Nash? Is he going to be calling the shots? Probably not. Is he going to be playing general manager? No. But not only does it make sense to bring someone back like Steve Nash to the organization, whom I think is, but I don't want to give away my take right away, but immediately a top 2 Phoenix Suns player of all time. You think of Barkley, you think of Nash, you think of Stoudemire, you obviously think of Devin Booker. I think Shawn Marion is in that realm. Walter Davis is in that realm. Tom Chambers, maybe even. Just a slew of really good history of Suns players, and Steve Nash is right up there at the very top. We know what he means to the organization. 2-time MVP, back-to-back MVP, multiple Western Conference Finals appearances. This scratches the itch for me because I am a die-hard 7 seconds or less Phoenix Suns fan. Steve Nash is ultimately responsible, along with Amari Stoudemire and my favorite Phoenix Suns player of all time, Shawn Marion, into getting me into sports, not just basketball. The Phoenix Suns will always be my firstborn child, my first love when it comes to sports. And so it's nice to just be able to see him come back into the fold. But what makes it so smart is it's not like they're just hiring someone. It's not like they're just hiring someone who has no experience, and it's just a good feeling. Like, Steve Nash has a ton of experience in the NBA, not just in a player role, but also in player development roles, as a head coach, and now as a senior advisor for the Phoenix Suns. Now, all the Suns did today was just make it official. He obviously helped with the addition of Jordan Knott to this team. I had it up here just a minute ago. I'd have to realize where it went. Yeah, Steve Nash is to have reported help with Jordan Knott to get the Phoenix Suns head coaching job. He was one of the people that basically stood up for Jordan Knott and said, you should hire this guy. He's a really smart individual. So Nash has already been playing this role of senior advisor, senior consultant in the Phoenix Suns realm. But aside from all that, like, we know Nash is qualified. We know that people have said before they want him to be the Suns head coach years ago. We know that everything he's accomplished on the floor, like, Nash is more than qualified to be in this role of a senior advisory role to help sit in those rooms and explain to Ishbia and even Gregory at times, and unfortunately Bartelstein, who for some reason is still in those meetings, what he would envision the next great Phoenix Suns team to be. His ability to recruit players to the Suns. His IQ and EQ of the game. The biggest thing when it comes to Nash is it's just hiring more smart people into your building. Like, we had questions about Brian Gregory, and I still think whenever he talks into the microphone, he has the personality of a wet blanket. Like, not that it matters, but the dude has no ability to win a press conference to save his life. But I think what you've seen over the last couple of weeks is that Gregory is a more intelligent individual than even I've given him credit for. And in a room full of Josh Bartlesteins, who I think is just an incompetent Nepo baby buffoon, when you add someone with the IQ of Steve Nash, I think even Grant Hill would be a really good senior advisory role position with the Phoenix Suns as well. Obviously, he's working with USA Basketball, so there's no reason that he would ever do that. But Grant Hill, Steve Nash, those types of players are really smart individuals that you just want to bring in your realm. And it's just the right decision. And it continues to show that the difference between Matt Ishbia and Robert Sarver, I know Nash and Sarver didn't have like too many disputes, but like he never retired Sean Marion's number. He never retired Amari Stoudemire's number. He didn't get along with players. Matt Ishbia has rekindled those relationships. It's not like Nash was around all the time when Sarver was here. Like, he wasn't. But Matt Ishbia has rekindled these relationships with players like Steve Nash, with players like Amari Stoudemire, Sean Marion, to help build up what the Phoenix Suns are, which is a very competent organization. And so, like, bringing Nash into the fold, he was already kind of in the fold because we saw what he did with Jordan Ott, but making it official shows me that this notion that you're only going to hire MSU grads and people that you're close to, like, yes, there is that idea that he wants to work with the guys that he's worked with his entire life. But it's not out of the realm of possibility that he brings someone in like Steve Nash, who has a very high IQ level of the game, who is a fan favorite here, and who really should have never left the Valley. As soon as he retired, he got traded to the Lakers, and then he retired, and then he was with the Warriors. He won a couple of championships there as like a player development coach or conditioning coach or whatever it was. Then he went to the Nets, and he was there for a little bit as the head coach, and then he kind of went away after a while when Kevin Durant, kind of felt like sort of got him fired, but probably maybe Kyrie Irving more than anyone. And now he's back in Phoenix, and he really should have never left. So it's just a really smart move. It's just a really smart, it's not just a feel-good move, but it's the right move. If I were to have any other, would I want any other Suns player in the history of the game to be in a senior advisory role, a consulting role, or maybe even higher than that when Steve Nash kind of develops in this front office? Would I pick any other player in the Steve Nash era or in any Phoenix Suns era over him? I don't think so. Being able to watch Nash live as a kid, man, some of you don't know that feeling because some of you are a little bit younger, which is okay. You guys are going to say the same thing to kids your age 10 years from now when you're talking about Devin Booker. But watching Nash play was such a treat. And he should have never left the Valley. And the fact that he's back, it just is the right move. And it feels right. Because Nash has tried to been claimed by the Mavericks, obviously the Lakers for a spell there. He is and always will be a Phoenix Sun and will always play a massive role in my childhood. So because of his intelligence and his meaning to this team, incredibly A+ smart move by Matt Ishbia for bringing this guy in. But not just bringing him in, but also getting his opinion on guys like Jordan Ott. And it's just the right move. It's just the absolute right move. Credit to Matt Ishbia. Congratulations to Steve Nash. And I'm not joking with you. I hope he moves up the ranks here and at some point is the new general manager. I think that guy is incredibly intelligent and I think could be a shark in negotiations when it comes to dealing with other general managers. At some point, we're talking, potentially another decade down the line.
The NFL season is here and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits how I like to bet, whether it's player props in that moment or building a same game parlay or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little bit more energy to your Sundays, or in my case, Mondays. Lions got that with the points. Love that for me. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
Jayson Tatum goes on a big media blitz to talk about his injury and rehab, and I'm more convinced than ever that he is playing basketball this season. I got Tom Westerholm. Who needs Jayson Tatum when I got Tom Westerholm right here?
I mean, I turned down all the offers from Good Morning America, from ESPN, all the offers to come on and talk. And I turned them down because I said I was like, no, like I know the show that Tatum's not going on is Locked On, and I'm zagging while he's zigging. So,
how 2025 is it that the big injury update for the superstar Boston Celtic comes because he's partnered with a pharmaceutical company to push a painkiller?
It's almost like more 2017.
At least it's a non-opioid painkiller. It's like, hey, look,
take what we can get here.
It's like, I'm happy that it's a non-opioid painkiller. I am curious. I got to look this up. I'm not giving the name of the drug. I don't care. He's very careful. I think legally, because he's a partner, he's like, well, there are some side effects. I'm like, what side effects are there, Jayson Tatum? That's the question I need to know. What side effects from your painkiller are there? But
see, what I want to know is how fast Jayson Tatum can say them at the end of a 30-second commercial. I want to hear.
Yeah.
I want to hear his full on, like, side effects may include. I want to hear. Yeah.
So, okay. So Jason's out there. He pushing the painkiller, and okay, fine. You need painkillers when you have surgery on your Achilles tendon, and like that's part of the process. So let's start at the beginning. He's down in a heap in New York. I do appreciate that he opened up about basically crying for 2 hours. And I was back there. I was at MSG. I was like 5 feet away from like the room he was in, watching his mom go in and out and people go in and out, and like the faces, like they were just, you talk about forlorn for obvious reasons, right? And him opening up about like, is everything going to change? Here you are, 27 years old at the peak of your powers, just won a championship, trying to hold on and win a second championship. And all of a sudden your leg just explodes. You're like, am I going to be what I've been? And, he talks about, all of my sponsors going to drop me? Like all of this money that's been coming in that sets up my family for generations, which, by the way, is the point of doing all of this, right? It is a job, and your whole point of your job is to make money to set up your family. He's like, oh my God, is all of this going to go away? So I do appreciate like this moment. I joked about like why he was doing it, but at least we got like substance from him while he was talking to all of these outlets.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think whenever a lot of times when you see a guy go on one of these media blitzes, it really, you just get a whole lot of nothing. And like, I mean, I think, we got some substance. We got him talking about like the emotion of it all. But I also think too, I mean, I'm, sure we'll get into this. I don't know how fast you want to start getting into this, but like, I think we got some, not answers, but as close to answers as you can get from a media blitz like this, right? Like you got the kind of hints that tell you things. I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's funny to see it all happen. Like see him just like make the most obvious, like, his agent has been calling around to all the outlets, and he's got it all set up in like the order of operations. He's got it all nicely timed out and all that. Yeah. Like it's very funny to see that unfolding in real time, but it wasn't a nothing burger like it is a lot of the time when you get these. It was yeah, it was substantive on a couple of different levels.
Yeah. And so, right. He actually was open and forthcoming. And I do think the number one thing that obviously everybody wants to take away from it is, all right, so how you feeling? And I said it right at the top in the cold open. I'm more convinced than ever that Tatum is playing basketball this year. So,
Yeah, I think so
we
too.
start in, I'll start at People Magazine, where his surgeon actually had a quote that said, I don't think I've seen a person's calf look as strong as his. At 6 or 8 weeks, he was doing double heel rises. He worked his calf so hard that the side effect of loss of strength, I don't think that he's going to have any. So that quote from the surgeon in People Magazine is, to me, I don't know, maybe the biggest deal out of all of this, because this is the guy that did the operation.
Yeah.
And like, there's obviously going to be some sort of, pumping up. This is like, we're,
Gassing him a little
pumping
bit,
the guy.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But there are ways to say things without saying things. And if you're going to be definitive, then that's definitive. You don't have to say this. You don't have to say, I don't think he's going to have any loss of strength. That's a very specific, definitive thing to say. I don't think I've seen a person's calf look as strong as his is a pretty definitive thing to say. You don't have to say that if it's not true. You can say, I like the progress that he's making.
Yeah.
He's really showing good strength in that calf. But to say I've never seen a person's calf look as strong as his, definitive. So
yeah,
that alone makes me think like, to me, it's validating.
Yeah.
Because I've been like, this is the exact thing, the type of thing that I've been thinking is possible with Tatum.
Yeah, for sure. It's, you say it's definitive. It's like, you're so right that there are so many ways to get around this. There's so many ways, and we've heard them. We hear them all the time. We hear them from Brad. We hear them from
Every
Joe.
day.
And I think beat writers have kind of a sense of that. Not to like gas, beat writers up too much here, but it's like, exactly what is being said to you when it's being said. And I mean, you go on this big media blitz. You don't go on this big media blitz if things aren't going well. You definitely don't go on this big media blitz if things are like, and you definitely don't have your surgeon out there saying this is incredible. I've never seen a calf muscle like you don't have that if things aren't going.
Yeah. Who is he? Wolverine? I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Right. Like, things are clearly going very well. And and I think, you hear, some of his answers, you hear like some stuff that's like, kind of like, okay, listen, like, it's not over, it's like, there's a lot to be done. There's, all kinds of, you gotta have all the necessary caveats on top of it. But it's like, Jayson Tatum's surgeon is in contact with his agent, is in contact with Jayson Tatum. And if he's going to a news outlet and is saying like these things, this is something that has been approved on all fronts. Like, everybody's feeling pretty good about where Jayson Tatum is at right now.
Yes, absolutely. And then it's funny, you have to pay attention to all of the things that he's saying everywhere, because, he does People Magazine, he does the Boston Globe, of course. He does Jenna and Friends on NBC. He does First Take, and then NBA Today. I think that's all.
NBA Today. Yep.
Yeah. So it is a progression. He's got 2 like written things that are out there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that the People Magazine thing was today. I think they got that ahead of time. Embargo
nice little embargo on that thing.
Yeah. So they probably got that a day or two ago.
Yeah.
Wrote it up, have it embargoed for release this morning. So I guess People was first.
Yeah.
So it's like People Magazine. This is Jayson Tatum, right? People Magazine, the basically the Today Show, and then your ESPNs and your local newspaper. Adam Himmelsbach didn't tweet it out until like the very end of the day. So I'm sure people at the Globe were like, "Hey, whoa, wait, how are we not on this list?" And we're sorry.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
Monte Morris headed to the Pacers. They have that third point guard that it's been kind of breadcrumbed that they would bring in. What does Morris bring? Why Morris?
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast.
Today, it's officially a big-time camp battle for the Pacers. They have their third point guard. Monte Morris is headed to the Pacers, the veteran, experienced guard that I have said they might need. Who knows if he's actually gonna make the team, but a guy that I have floated around if you've been listening all summer. Why did they do this? What does this mean for their camp battle? Why Morris specifically for the Pacers? What does this suggest is potentially coming for the Pacers? Lots of rambly thoughts here because there's so many layers to this, which is wild given that it's a 14th, 15th, whatever guy. But that's kind of the situation the Pacers are in without Haliburton, is figuring out what to do. So let's start with Morris and why specifically he is a good addition for the Pacers. If you've been listening to me talk about what I think the Pacers, one, why I think they could sign another point guard, and two, what they would need in that spot. To me, a couple things. One is they have McConnell, they have Nembhard. After that, it's a big drop to the two-way guys, Ray J. Dennis, Quentin Jackson, and then Cam Jones obviously is not on a two-way, but that's just not any experience. And you could say that playing that kind of player is fine for the Pacers in this specific season without expectations with Haliburton. But to me, a couple things. One is I think they're kind of going to be decent. Two is even if you're developing talent, having somebody who can just keep things organized and moving and make sure like if the point guard's not in the right spot, nothing's going to work, right? Somebody who can just be heady and smart and not mess up does have some value, right? Experience, like George Hill on a tanking team is fine, for example, for the Pacers a few years ago. You always want quality ball handling play if you can get it, especially if you're trying to win, as the Pacers found out the hard way in the Brad Wanamaker, Kiefer Sykes here a few years ago. So I have said, even if they want to try to find ways to play Cam Jones, or they actually do a little believe in Ray J. Dennis or Quentin Jackson, having another point guard does make sense. That's just based on like a straight up depth chart, right? 1, 2, 3 point guards, 1, 2, 3 shooting guards. The part two of this is they play a lot of 2-point guard lineups. How many times last year? I mean, obviously Nembhard and Haliburton started together, but McConnell, Nembhard, and occasionally even McConnell, Haliburton was a thing for the Pacers. They like guys who can put pressure on the rim, and it would be really hard for them to build a rotation with that lets them play McConnell, Nembhard. And to be clear, I don't think that combo is going to play as much as they've played 2-point guards in seasons past, but they can't do it at all if they don't have a third point guard who can be the backup in those cases. So there were a lot of just like Pacers specific reasons that indicated, yeah, they might actually want another experienced point guard, not anybody, right? Not some young dude, not someone who's going to want minutes. Like you got to find the right spot. And that's where insert the guy they actually got, right? I thought he was in the perfect tier of player. If you've listened to Locked On Pacers all summer, I think every time I brought up veteran point guards, I've brought up Monte Morris and Corey Joseph and a few other guys. But Monte Morris made so much sense to me for a couple reasons. One is that at this stage of the offseason, right, I'm guessing a little bit here, but most players who are going to get signed this week, including an ex-Pacer who we'll talk about later today who signed with the Cavs, most guys at this stage of the summer finally are like shrugging their shoulders and being like, okay, I'm not going to get guaranteed money or I'm not going to get the role I want, right? They spent all offseason hoping it would be there, and the Warriors kind of held things up. and blah, 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 but they're kind of giving up. It's like media days started yesterday. The Pelicans had it. A lot of teams going overseas for preseason games had it. It's time for things to start. Camp is starting this week. The Pacers will be practicing in a week. Like, you're out of time. And so what the Pacers were looking for, to me, was a point guard who fit all that stuff I described earlier, but also a player who knows either they're probably not going to get a role anywhere. They're not good enough to be in a rotation, or at least their recent history, as we'll talk about with Morris, suggests they shouldn't be in a rotation, or somebody who's willing to not take any guaranteed money at all, right, and have to fight to make the team because any chance to make any money is good. So either money or a role. In Morris's case, both. It's a 1-year non-guaranteed Exhibit 9 deal. We'll get into the specifics of that later. And that's why Morris made sense. It finally became time for him to just be like, okay, I need to be somewhere. This is probably his best chance in the entire league of making a team at this stage. Perfect match of player and team. So that's just the situation that makes Monte Morris a good addition for the Pacers, right? Now let's talk about basketball Monte Morris, because I, one, was a Wizards fan as a kid and watched too much Wizards, but two, as somebody who watched a lot of playoff basketball in the past, really like Monte Morris, the player, right? He got drafted by Denver and in 2017 and was pretty solid for them. He didn't play much as a rookie, but then got 9th and 6th man of the year his second season, played all 82 games. And the thing that made him a good bench guard for that Nuggets team is he was really a caretaker. 3.6 assists per game, 0.6 turnovers per game. This is the stat I will reference with Monte Morris, basically until he plays games for the Pacers, just to kind of give you a reference point of his style of play, his skills, right? He's played 8 seasons in the NBA. One time in those 8 seasons has he had more turnovers than games played. Every other season, he's averaged less than 1 turnover per game. And that season he did go over. He had 78 turnovers in 75 appearances for Denver. That was 2021-22. He is very low mistake as a point guard. And here come the Pacers, who want to pass the ball like crazy and not turn it over very much. They were top 3 in passes per game last year. They were bottom 3 in turnovers per game. Obviously, a lot of that's Tyrese Halliburton. So Morris was great with Denver because to like do the opposite side of the coin, if you're having that assist to turnover ratio, you're probably not making a lot of risky passes, right? And I would say that's true of Morris. I'm not saying he's a bad passer, but it's for those of you who were around for the Darren Collison days or listen to me talking the Darren Collison days, he's kind of like a Darren Collison passer, just keeping it moving, which is productive. He's getting his teammates the ball where they need to, but he's not like throwing guys open. He's not like so advanced with his creation. So his assist rate's solid, and his turnover rate's really low. That's good. That's a good caretaker point guard that will work with any lineup. But he's not like this super advanced creator that really works when you're playing with Nikola Jokic, right? So he looked awesome in Denver, and he will look awesome with stars who can create. That's why he wasn't as effective with Washington or Detroit. Minnesota, he looks a little better. All of a sudden, he gets another deal with Phoenix, and then is behind Tyus Jones and hurt, and that team's a mess. So they don't have Jokic, they don't have Halliburton, but there's more stability to the Pacers situation and style that makes me wonder if he'll be like Wizards Monte Morris, which was a fine player. That was 2022, 23. He's turning 30 now. In that season, he was 27. He averaged 13.5 points per 36 minutes that year. His per game numbers for the Wizards, which he started, 10.3 points, 5.3 assists per game. He's not going to play nearly enough to sniff those numbers with the Pacers unless there's some injuries. But like that is his career arc and skill set that to me makes him a good basketball fit with the Pacers. So you could go on and on about the reasons that this made sense. And I explained the Pacers point guard situation kind of ad nauseum this summer because and you can even go back to July. The setting the pace guys straight up asked Chad Buchanan, hey, are you guys going to add a point guard, right? Is that something that you need? Tyrese Halliburton's out for the year. And at the time, this was late July. So this is over 2 months ago at this point. He said, if there's a position to maybe look at, maybe another point guard. With Drew and TJ, it obviously puts a lot on their plates with nobody behind them right now. That's a pure point guard on the 15-man roster. I would argue that Ray J. Dennis is a pure point guard. He's also extremely inexperienced. So they needed a middle ground there. They admitted that. Time passed. They have the most up-to-date information possible about their roster, and they said, that's the guy. Monte Morris is the guy. Monte Morris says, okay, I don't have options to get guaranteed money or a guaranteed role. I might make this team. I fit their style pretty well. My career suggests I could be good here. I really need to go somewhere that's good at developing players a little bit and maybe keep my career going. He turned 30 this summer. Good team fit and player fit. Monte Morris makes a ton of sense to me for the Pacers. okay enough shooter, 39% on threes in his career, but very rarely takes them. The passing is solid. The lack of turnovers is great. He's a little smaller. His defense is going to be at best, but kind of what you need from a third point guard for a team that is in their situation.